much like another form of egress. The decisions about those things get made by the administration, by the planning and those folks. And then they come and say, okay, your role is to either build it or oversee the folks that are going to build it and make sure that whatever they build conforms to our standards. Sorry about that.
Thank you. I'm assuming that anything done up there at the top of Lako, where there's such a group, is a state highway, state involved. Is that correct?
So if you're going to make a change to the configuration right now up there, the answer is yes, the state would have to be involved. However, our traffic division works very closely with the state because our traffic division, by contract, maintains and manages all of the state's traffic lanes.
And I would ask you, I would think that we shouldn't be discussing the extension of Lako until something is done on that intersection. There's no point because anything you got to do down here is going to bring more traffic up Lako, and that's just going to make a bad situation worse. So we have to work with the state and them to move. Hopefully, there's according to a long time ago, that's been money there or a project there, but the state of the county student, it's on a list somewhere of why they have a bigger intersection for turning lanes. So until that's done, we should be talking about it.
The state programs their road improvements, and I know that they've been looking at that road and studying it. I believe one of the fundamental challenges, and we have this as well as counties, only have so much real estate. There's only so much right of way. There's only so much reconfiguring that they can do with their property in the absence of the other. My counterpart at State DOT, he and I work together quite closely. We have a regular meeting. Next time I talk to him, I'll ask him, hey, what's going on? I do know that that's been priority. You know that alternate needs to address the really bad traffic situation, especially in Council Member.
Sure did. Just a general question. RMV 20, which owns the 140 acres, pretty clearly you noticed in your time here that we seem to have inadequate infrastructure in general relative to sewers and the roads and everything else. So right now, what is the thinking of your department, Public Works, about creating the kind of infrastructure that would support however many houses and buildings would go on 140 acres? Or are we just too soon for that? You haven't thought about it.
Well, I can just give you my opinion, right? You know what they say about opinion. But my opinion is that when we do development, we need to look at it from the standpoint of the additive impact. Okay? The reason I'm not going to pick on Waikoloa Village, but I will. Right? We're initiating a stormwater study because as we pay more pavement, we then create an environment for more water to run off. It doesn't soak into the ground. And there's a cumulative effect. And if you pay one part, and then another, and then another. And what I've been told, this is what it appears to be historically, is that we look at things one at a time, without looking at the cumulative effect. So from my perspective, when it comes to infrastructure, whether it's how big of a pipe to put in the ground for your stormwater or for your water or for your sewer, you should be thinking about like what the ultimate build up. So when you ask for that question from an infrastructure standpoint, you should be looking at what the ultimate plan is as opposed to just trying to do it. That makes sense.
Oh, I completely agree, and that's why I was asking the question. Questions that folks have with Mr. Pausé? Because I'm here, I'll take her first. I'll come over there. Oh, there's a sign kind of hidden in the bushes. No. There's a sign kind of hidden in the bushes on Coquini for a development by Long Estates. Well, I think that might be it. Does the
No, I
county?
think that's the church. I think that's the, where Living Stones, it's just north of Kulani or south of Kulani.
No, Kalani State.
Kulani Estates is where the park is. Where the children's park is?
Yeah.
And is it north of that, between that and Bolton's property, or is it south of it? Okay, that
There's
might
a
be the
sign- there's a
Vista.
sign for development. And my question is, does the county have any plan to limit any kind of new developments until we get some kind of infrastructure in place? We can't add 100 or 200, it's supposed to be 350 homes. That's spoiled business.
Yeah, they were trying to go, it's like 456, and maybe I'll take Steve out of the hot seat here, because it's very
It's a
specific.
plan, yeah, it's a planning question too, so
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm in the hot seat, I can't answer that question. It's a planning question, it's the CDP, it's all.
And going back to the infrastructure question, I've been very vocal, very blunt, and very outspoken on the county council that I will be not supporting any time extensions or zoning changes for developments that the plans were 40 years old. They still have never built the affordable housing they were supposed to build based on the first 3 phases of the vistas. Until we have adequate infrastructure, we're at capacity. We are at capacity. We are in an affordable workforce housing crisis. So unless a project is authentically workforce housing, for me in my role, I feel very okay to sleep at night by saying we're at capacity. And so one of the things that the chair of the council and I have just gotten passed is another acronym, we're calling it OSCAR, but it's the Office of Sustainability, Climate, Equity, and Resilience. And in the creation of this new office that sits at the cabinet level, so they sit with the mayor, with the directors as it gets filled, they will be directing and working closely with, and support, I wouldn't change the word, supporting. I mean, he's got his hands full just in your day-to-day work, and then take it to the next level of making sure that as we do improve our infrastructure, as we do take on bigger plans, that the most cutting edge technologies focused on sustainability, regenerative practices, best energy usage, all of those things are taken into account. What the creation of this office also provides for us is, you know, the bill passed by President Biden, the IRA bill, is going to provide billions of dollars in infrastructure money that is supposed to come directly to counties. So by creating this office, we are creating that message and that umeke, that bowl, that gathering place, which makes us in alignment with the projects that have been deemed worthy based on this bill that passed. And so it sets us up to receive this funding. So that's what I've been working on within the council to get us to where, because we don't have the money for that. I mean, our county, we don't have as much money as some other counties because it's all based on our property taxes, as we all know, which all went up. But so we're really trying to lay the groundwork and to hold at bay. I mean, we all know, I mean, the people that bought this 140 acres, it's called prospecting. They bought it a long time ago for not a lot of money. And unfortunately, Hawaii for hundreds of years has been identified as a place that you could do that. I'm really grateful to report that, you know, as he talked about the Fonzie, I'll call it a Fonzie scheme, kind of rhymes with Ponzi, but there were decades that a developer could just hire a company that had zero connection to understanding of, or, you know, we all know on paper things can look very differently than when you walk a piece of property and you get to know the people there. And so to write a Fonzie saying, oh, nothing was found, was a lot easier for them to get away with. And I'm finding now that that is not the case, and it's through the vocal participation of community members who are committed to standing strong, raising their hands with respect and dignity and courage, but saying, no, actually, did you see this? And so that's what we're finding, even with the Vistas project, that just went in front of the Cultural Commission, and it was agreed at the Cultural Commission that there are priceless historical and cultural sites on that property that were completely overlooked in the first rounds. So we are entering a new era, I think. I mean, one of the challenges, the opportunities both he and I has, he works for the Roth administration. Next year's another campaign year. You end up with these challenges, as Sherry's seen, you know, for decades, people change in office and their priorities aren't somebody else's priorities, and the relationships are different. And so your diligence and your consistent really research in the history holds whoever we are in these roles accountable and helps us find that pathway, right?
We have a question here. Oh, so much for that. Not so much, the question is just information. You mentioned this meeting, but I haven't watched this meeting at all. Yet. It sounds like it's gonna be a Saturday is entertainment. But I did watch the one in California and mentioned that it's good. And at that time, I had to go back to find out who said it. But basically there was a question about it, and oh well, the good news is we think we have a development to pay for it. But our problem is water. Then at the corner one that I did, the question came up again about, you asked that question, and my understanding is that, oh, well, we think we found someone to help us with the water situation. And the third point is that not only was the 1.5 million put in for this year's budget, but if you look at the projections for budget years following, there are additional wish list funds in the following years. So thank you so much for saying who should we pay attention to and who should we contact us, because I think there are people who do want to know this. And so Mitch Ross said that good luck, good news. We found a developer who's going to pay for it. Okay, good to know. Good to know. We have a question right over here. By the way, Kurt Short, who's in the back there, is taping this so we can put this online, and those who aren't here or you can look at it.
Such a fun job with everything you say, and it's fun.
Okay, so I understand, I'm trying to understand where we're at with it. And do I understand that it's not approved at this time? I mean, there's a bunch of studies that need to be done.
We have not specifically been told to get working on this study, and as a result, as Rebecca described it as a wish list, we still would have to ask for that money to get it in place so that we could hire an engineering firm and start our studies. We've not done that, and we've not been given any direction by anyone at the administration to get going on the studies.
Okay, so the developer